G'day Bomber fans, hope you enjoyed the week inside the top four because we have a bloody tough stretch of games coming up. This is going to be a massive test for the club and honestly I'm really excited for it. We are going to find out a lot about the culture and the system we have in place over the next few weeks, few rounds. But before I get into it though, I should show you guys the Player of the Year votes from last round. Here they are as always, mine and yours. We had some really big performers, so a lot of players were really unlucky to miss out. In fact, hard to narrow it down to just 3 players each way each week. Here's the top 10 leaderboard after round 4. It's getting nice and tight up there. Merritt has entered the race. Paco has entered the race. Loving the turnout each week with votes, guys. It's getting better and better, so make sure you subscribe if you are new to be involved. Every Monday I release a match review where I ask for your votes, which I count up and dish out Brownlow style votes from. It has been a lot of fun so far and gets the community involved, which is nice. So round 5, Saturday evening against Melbourne. Home game, kind of. We're playing at Adelaide Oval, of course, for the inaugural gather round, so no home ground advantage for either team, and honestly I kind of like that. I think we need that against a team like Melbourne, who I believe to be the best team in the league. I think a shake-up of venue is a good thing to have going into the game as the underdog, because if there wasn't, we'd probably be playing at the MCG. Melbourne do have a really good record down in SA though. In fact, they have won the most matches at Adelaide Oval, obviously excluding Port and Adelaide Crows, and our record is not so good. We usually travel over there and lose. I would know because I'm an SA resident who has to watch poor performance after poor performance in the city of churches. Adelaide Oval is skinnier than usual grounds, which we tend to like. We perform better at Etihad. We can set up our defensive zone a lot easier, and Melbourne are a well-spread team. They like the G layout, which is fatter. I like a ground a bit slimmer for us against the Ds. It'll make life just a tiny bit harder for Langdon and Hunter to find space on those wings, which they often use to roam at the G. Looking at the possible weather for the game, it could be a tad wet, which is never good. We have not been a good wet weather team historically, and Melbourne are so much more powerful in the engine room. Oliver, Petrarca, Grundy, Viney, these are hustle and bustle type operators who are not afraid to get their heads under packs. If this game is a slog, which I hope it is not, they are going to be on top. I cannot see Shield and Parrish and Merritt and Setterfield out muscling their midfield. The wet weather would at least make the loss of the unlucky Sam Wiedemann a tad easier to handle. At the moment, our forward line is really undersized. We obviously have no Peter Wright for most of the season. We won't have Wiedemann, which means in terms of key forwards, we would rely on Harry Jones, who has kicked 1 goal in 4 games, and a resting ruck option of either Draper or Phillips. And before you go asking for Pat Voss on the side, because I know a lot of you will be, I'm not 100% sure if it'll happen, not against Melbourne at least, because I think having 2 inexperienced forwards in Jones and Voss against May and Lever, which is just the best defensive duo in the league, will end horribly. I like the dual ruck setup with Phillips and Draper more, and we showed it could work without Wiedemann, especially with Langford or Stringer resting up forward, providing a mid to tall target. I really do want to see Voss play, but it's really hard to see how both Voss and Jones can have a positive impact against the Demons. I don't see either of them kicking goals against that defense. At least Jones is a really proven smart positional forward. He provides really clever leads in the forward line to often make space for the taller option, and he rarely loses marking contests down the ground as well. He brings the ball to ground. Voss is unproven at the top level. I just don't see how he could come into the side for Jones for a game this tough. While on the topic of our forward line and their defense, we should touch on how damn good they are back there with Stephen May and the team. This side is so efficient, and Jake Lever is having a season and a half. He is dominating intercept marking stats every game he plays. We pride ourselves on the ability to score from turnovers, but it's something I am frankly worried about facing them, especially with how mature they are through the midfield as well. They link up so well from defense to attack. We need to be really hot with our pressure to stop that. Their midfield is scary. It's not just big, but it's powerful. When you look at us, Merritt, Shield, Parrish, they aren't big bodies. Setterfield is going to have a massive game to try and nullify Petrarca and or Oliver, because those two together are so strong. Even if we can keep one of them down, I think it goes a long way to getting on top. As a club, they don't really gather many clearances. They are very low in that regard, but Clayton Oliver on his own is a worry, especially with how we defended centre bounce clearances last week. GWS were beating us going inside 50 from centre bounces. It's the only time they really looked dangerous, honestly, so that's a worry for me. It's also a big day for Andrew Phillips. I think Draper is going to have to play ruck around the ground a lot to try and have an attacking impact like we saw last week. He will be in the forward line a lot, but Andrew Phillips will need to have a defensive role on Brodie Grundy, who is still a very good ruckman. That is a ruck duel I am excited to see unfold. Their forward line on paper is nothing that special, but the individuals as a collective are bloody annoying. They create space so well, which is again why our forward half pressure needs to be on, so they can't create the space they often do. But defensively, we are a very attacking team. Redmond and McGrath, they push up the ground a lot, which is perfect for the Demons. They love space out the back. It's why they are right up the top 4 marks inside 50, despite being right at the bottom for contested marks. It's all about the space they create. Obviously, they are a very, very strong team. So, can we win? And if so, how do we win? Well, I've said it once, I will say it again, pressure. It's so important that you are red hot against Melbourne because they are a very classy team and will find it hard to find space with Menzies or whoever is on their heels for the whole game. And the game the D's lost was because of how dominant the Lions were out of the middle. They had almost double the amount of clearances and outscored Melbourne from stoppages. It was all about territory, catching the intercept defense off guard, something I think we will find it very hard to do, unfortunately. I think it's also important we don't try and change too much tactically. I would rather see us back our own game in and lose by 10 goals than played into their hands and be chasing the whole time. I think you need to put the Demons on the back foot with scoreboard pressure. Sometimes, to throw the old saying on its head, the best form of defense is attack. Danger players for them, Clayton Oliver, he is going to have a field day against our midfield if he isn't watched closely. I can see him ending the game with 35 plus and a heap of clearances to match. Jake Lever against our defense will have a big game. He's in career best intercepting form, so whoever plays on him just has to get moving as far away from contests as possible. We cannot allow him to float and grab like he does. Bailey Fritsch will be licking his lips at the prospect of playing us. He is going to find so much space inside 50. He is as clever as they come. I can see him kicking 5 goals if they get on top. He is the real worry for me up forward. He genuinely makes Melbourne look like they have an extra player sometimes. I cannot respect him any more than I already do. Possible team news for us. Wiedemann will be out, so expect Voss to come into selection consideration, but so too Ben Hobbs and Will Snelling for some tackling pressure. They had 16 between them in the VFL, both in very good nick right now in the Magoos. At the end of the day, sorry guys, I don't see us winning this one. I think it's a really intriguing contest to see where we are at against the best of the best, but Melbourne should get the job done. They are a very, very good football side. I think they do it by 6 goals, if not more. I have faith in the boys, I do, but I'm also being realistic. This team beat the Swans by 50 points a couple of weeks back. They mean business. So that is the round 5 previews. I hope you guys are more optimistic than I am. Leave your predictions in the comments below and let me know how you think we can win the game on Saturday.